All right, so today we're going to talk about this year's riot season. Talk about what's in style, what's not. How can you be the cool kid at the riot? Yeah, no, we're not going to talk about that. But we are going to talk about the riots and this riot season. So, in case you didn't know, there was a riot multiple days, like 2 days, 3 days in LA recently. I mean, the media makes it looks like it's a lot bigger than it is. Obviously, it's basically like 2 blocks of downtown, 1 block of downtown. Pretty much the fashion district is where all the fighting's going on. So anyway, while these people are at the immigration court, these dudes in masks and like tactical gear, bulletproof vests and shit, AR-15s, etc., come and they start kidnapping these people who are coming out of the immigration court. And of course, people are freaking out because, people have been going around kidnapping people all the time, particularly people dressed like that. So people start freaking out, obviously, and because it's LA and Gavin Newsom's the governor, nobody's got a gun. So people start throwing rocks at these dudes who are just grabbing people outside the court. And then, the dudes with the ARs turn out they have pepper spray and shit, so it looks like they might actually be cops. And then the fucking fighting continues, and then it turns out that they are actually like government agents. They're from DC. They're like DC agents. And so then the LAPD comes. I'm assuming they came because they heard people were getting kidnapped, but then it turns out that these dudes are DC agents. So then for some reason the LAPD sides with the DC agents. I guess they're just, I don't want to say they sided with them. They tried to de-escalate the situation, I'm sure. LAPD's great at that. Like, they see these people throwing rocks and shit at each other, so I'm sure they, just tried to restore order. But then, of course, they couldn't restore order. And then everything got way, way out of hand, and then went on for a couple of days, interspersed with, daytime protests, just like signs and yelling and stuff, and then rioting at night. Or whenever the cops would shoot at them with the rubber bullets and stuff, they'd probably throw some shit back or whatever. And then that keeps going, and then Trump takes control of our National Guard, which is like fucking crazy. Like, he just immediately jumped the line to federalizing it, which you're not allowed to do. I don't know if you know that, but you're not allowed to do that. And then Gavin Newsom gets mad, and he files some type of lawsuit. A court says they have to give the control of the National Guard back to him, because of course they do. But then another court stays that order on appeal. So Trump still has control of the National Guard at this point. That's where I'm at today. There's a hearing tomorrow. And then but yeah, that doesn't even matter, because during that time, Trump decided to deploy the fucking Marines against California, which is pretty fucking crazy, man. That's some, the government deployed the military on people over a riot, and that sounds a whole lot like a story that you might remember from the American Revolution. The Boston Massacre, where the dude they were throwing rocks at the British and daring them to shoot them. Like, supposedly they were chanting "fire, fire," and then the cops shot them, and then the whole process of revolting against the government began. Now, we're not to the part where the military's opened fire on the protesters, although that did happen back in the '60s at Kent State. So it's not like this would be the first time some shit like that's happened. And then there's also that thing in World War I where the World War I protesters, they wanted their money, their pension, for fighting in World War I, because the Great Depression had hit and they were like starving and dying. So they went to the government like, hey, that money you owe us, we need that now. And then so the government ended up deploying the army against them and then killing them. So this has happened a few times. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if this time's any different. Who knows? Like, every single time it seems like this time's going to be different, but this time looks like it's going to be different. I guess it's one of those times. It seems like this time's going to be different, right? We're not going to allow the government to come into our state and start shooting us, right? We're not going to do that. Of course we're not. So let's look at let's just examine the situation a little bit. So before we go anywhere else, I want to just start off with like the main framing of this, which is the 10th Amendment argument. So essentially, ICE came in here in unmarked cars and armored vehicles. I don't know why they didn't pick anything in between, but those were the two extremes they decided to go with, and started deporting people who are going through the legal process in California to maintain their green card that California allows them to have and the federal government allows us to have. So the 10th Amendment states, essentially, that the powers that aren't delegated to the federal government by the Constitution or prohibited to this, like that the state can't do. So if the Constitution doesn't say that the state can't do it, and the Constitution doesn't give that power to the federal government, then the right is reserved to the states respectively and the people, meaning that like we get to decide democratically upon things like what standards you have to meet to have a green card in California. Okay, so that's what the federal government is violating right now. Like, primarily, we have allowed a certain group of people to be here through a bilateral labor and trade agreement. They can come into this country, fill out some paperwork, and work here. And now the federal government is coming in and saying, no, you can't have those people here, and deporting them. So the federal government is telling us who we can and can't have on our land, which is definitely not anything that's mentioned in the Constitution at all. Like, you can comb through it, you're not going to find anything that says that the federal government can decide who can and cannot be on your land. That even carries over to your private property, whatever. Like, that's the main issue here that we need to really focus on, is that the federal government is taking over the power of the state. So there's no longer, in the future, theoretically, going to be any state power. It's going to be a centralized government in Washington, D.C., a federation, a centralized federation, I should say, similar to what they have in Russia. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad. I'm just saying that that's what they're doing. Okay, they're trying to make our government into the government that Russia has, which is centralized federalism without territorial rights. So the government is essentially taking away the last piece of actual democracy that we have, like that. And by democracy, I mean the last ideas that we can vote on directly. So, like, say we all make a proposition to allow people to get their green card and come into California and work, which is a thing that happened, and then we all vote for that. No, like directly, like a politician doesn't make a policy. We come up with a law and then we vote on it, and if we decide that we like it, then that's the law. So the government is essentially coming after direct democracy. They want to cut that out entirely and have a centralized federal system. Also, the government is in violation of its own federal laws by not giving people trials. They're violating Amendment 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So half the Constitution, the rights of the accused, or half of the Bill of Rights, I should say, not half the Constitution. Half the Bill of Rights is the rights of the accused. They're not giving people the rights that accused people have. And they're coming into our state to tell us that our laws aren't valid and that their laws override our laws. And so they're then arresting people and not giving them trials. So that's where we're at right now. And so these riots break out and then they turn into protests. They started as riots and then they turned into protests. And then after they stopped being riots and started being protests, then the police continued to attack the peaceful protesters as well, which I would say is a violation of the First Amendment. I mean, kinda, a little, like, sorta, like, yes, it is, but whatever. I understand that nobody cares about the Constitution, so I guess there's no point in trying to have that conversation, especially not amongst any politicians, because none of them are bringing it up at all. I saw one judge, when they gave the power of the National Guard back to Gavin Newsom, actually cite the 10th Amendment and the media wasn't even focusing on that at all, and I think that's really fucking crazy because they want you to forget that fucking the government is in violation of like probably like 7, 8 of the total amendments. I mean, they're actually somehow violating the Third Amendment, which is fucking crazy because they're housing the federal troops in like hotels and shit with taxpayer money, which kind of violates the Third Amendment that everybody doesn't care about because it's just that the government can't like force you to house soldiers, and that never comes up. So I don't know how they fucking bothered to fuck that up. The Ninth Amendment, it's kind of like up in the air whether they're violating it because that's the one that basically says that you can't use the Constitution to like disparage people's rights, like that it can never be interpreted to disparage people's rights. But that's a whole philosophical argument. But basically they're in violation of almost every amendment except for, you know, that one that's there that, you know, a lot of people don't like and a lot of other people really like. That one's not being violated yet, and it really brings the question of like, is that one going to come into play? Like is now the time? Is this what the Second Amendment is for? Is for when the government rounds people up without giving them trials and then invalidates democratic laws passed in states and imposes its will on people? And it's not like a situation like slavery because we're not using the Constitution to disparage someone's rights. We're actually using it in the opposite direction. So it's kind of like, is that where we're at? I mean, I know it seems like we're at that point a lot of times, but this time seems a little different. Or does it just always feel a little different? Because, I mean, every time this happens, it feels like this time's going to be different. But this time does feel like it's going to be different, but then that's just the process. So, is this the Second Amendment time? Not sure. But let's just say that it was. I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that that's what we should be doing. I'm just saying, if it gets to that point, which it looks like it might, what is a fair target? So the first thing that comes to mind is the military. And I mean, I guess that is a somewhat necessary target, but at the same time, most of these people are just other poor people who didn't have any other options in life, and so they joined the military to get socialist programs. Like the government basically says like, look, if you are willing to join our army, we'll give you socialism, and poor people want socialism, so they join the army because that's the only option to get things like healthcare and college and buy a house. You know, things that poor people can't afford and can't really hope to accomplish without incurring massive debt. So the government gives them the opportunity to join the military, and that is why I have like a lot of sympathy for them, because most of them are just kids. They're like, you know, 18, 19, like they're poor. Some dude knocks on their door, or they're at school, and this guy's like, hey, have you ever thought about joining up? And, you know, maybe they haven't, and, you know, because they haven't really thought about the world at large like that because they're kids. And this guy is saying like, hey, join the military, it's like Call of Duty or whatever. And so they join, and now they're being ordered to do shit that they may or may not want to do, but they're afraid to say no. They don't really understand the Bill of Rights because they went to a shitty school, and now they're in a position that they don't want to be in. And I mean, that's not all of them. Some of them definitely want to be in that position. Like, some of them are fucking assholes, and some of them also think they're doing the right thing. But at the same time, that is like a very difficult thing, because like they have also been trained to hate and kill us on command. Like they're trained to be completely removed from the idea of killing whoever they're told to kill, and if that's the citizens of the United States, like they'll do it. Or maybe they won't, because they are still human, and that's like the difficult part with if it comes down to a Second Amendment situation, that they are also just like us. And then there's the federal agents, who are a completely different story. The invading force from Washington, D.C. These guys know what they're doing, and they enjoy the cruelty that they're inflicting. They like that they're violating the Constitution. They know they are, and they like it. That's why they're doing it. It's not easy to become a federal agent. It's not something you just sign up and you get to do it. Like, these people worked really hard to do this. They know what the Bill of Rights is. They know that they're violating it. They know they're completely in the wrong. They know that they're trying to destroy the last vestiges of state democracy. They know what they're doing. They're bad people. And they don't deserve any sympathy. I mean, the majority of them are religious extremists. Like, mostly Mormons, because I don't know if you know this, but Mormons do believe that the United States is the Holy Land, like the way that like Hasidic Jews think that Israel is the Holy Land. Like Mormons think that this is that. Like, they will do anything for this land. Like, they don't care. They want to set up a theocracy. And there's also a fair amount of evangelical Christians, and there's some other stuff too. There's also secular people, I'm sure. But, I mean, a good portion of them are crazy religious extremists. Some of them are sociopaths. Like, these people aren't uneducated. They're full-grown adults. They know what they're doing. Like, those are the real bad guys. Like, there's no defending them in any way. Like, the only thing they're good for is defending us from problems that they create through their, like, insane tactics of like, absolutely having to make sure that there's no government in the world other than the United States. Like, groups like the CIA that go and just like do coups in like other countries because those countries want to charge like slightly more for like lithium or whatever, so they overthrow their government and install a dictator and have a bunch of people like killed. Like, you know, the same thing they did with the Chiquita banana situation, you know, the banana republics, and let's not forget El Salvador, Nicaragua, etc. Like, these people know what they're doing, and they don't deserve any sympathy. They're not like the everyday soldier who is essentially just another one of us, another poor person who is just living under this system and hoping that it plays by its own rules, and it's suddenly decided not to for like the 12th time that I can think of. But anyway, that brings us to the LAPD. Okay, LAPD, what the hell are you guys doing, dude? Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, I don't want to be like a cop hater. I would really like to not be a cop hater, but Jesus Christ, dude, what are you guys doing? Like, enforce the law, dude. Like, the dudes without badges who are going around kidnapping people, like, you need to arrest them. They say that they work for the government, but we don't know that. Like, how would anybody know that? They have no badge, and they have masks on. How would we know who these people are? You need to arrest them and make sure that they are who they say they are. I know it's scary to approach the guy with the AR-15, but that's your job, man. I'm sorry. Sucks for you. But, like, you need to be arresting these people. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you shooting at the protesters? Those are the good guys. Those are the guys that are, you know, mad because these guys came into our home. Because if you're a regular LAPD cop, you live here too. Like, they came into our state and started kidnapping people. You're supposed to be arresting them. You should be throwing rocks with the rioters, maybe using your armored vehicles to assist, maybe, or something, you know? I'm not saying you guys have to use your rifles or anything, but you should be arresting the crazy people from Washington, D.C., the religious extremist, centralized federalist fucking, I don't know what the fuck to call them. There's a word for them. You know what it is. Come on, you know. You know the word. But anyway, yeah, what are you guys doing? I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. I guess, like, I'd like to be surprised. But come on, guys. Come on. Like, for real. Be a cop. So then, yeah. Gavin Newsom. Oh, Gavin. some of the, like, he's been okay. He's been okay. He was okay. He talks big. He doesn't want to promote a war. Whatever. He doesn't want to promote secession. Boo. But, I mean, come on, man. This guy, why aren't you ordering the cops to arrest the ICE agents, dog? You don't know that they're ICE agents. People are telling you they're ICE agents. They're dudes in masks with guns. You need to arrest them. You need to arrest them. Okay? And then I hear there's this bill going through California State Congress where they want to ban cops wearing masks. And hey, that's a good bill, but you know, they're already not wearing badges, and I know that that's illegal. So like, yeah, maybe we should just enforce that law. I mean, you can pass the face mask one too, but there's already a law that would facilitate us getting them out of here. Like, why don't we just do that? Like, for now. At least you would think, like, Gavin Newsom would be talking about the Constitution a little bit just to, like, get people familiar with it, because, you know, he has a lot of ground to stand on, and he's not using it at all. Like, he's filing lawsuits and shit, but you're filing lawsuits against somebody who clearly doesn't care about the law. And, I mean, bro, to Washington, D.C., it's some words on a piece of paper. That's not going to stop a bullet. That's not going to stop an arrest. That's not going to stop a show of force. It's a piece of paper, man. This ain't rock, paper, scissors. Like, paper doesn't have any power. And it's really frustrating to see this guy not talk about the 10th Amendment. And you never hear any politicians talk about the 10th Amendment. And it's because we all know that, like, they want to become president, and then they want to abuse it. They want to abuse it. They want to abuse all the amendments. They don't care. They all want a centralized federal system. And that type of system just does not work. There's too much going on in this country and too many differences of culture to have a centralized government in that way. But everybody just wants to have that much power. And it's such a folly of thought because nobody can hold that much power. But anyway, that's why they're not bringing it up, and it's really fucking frustrating. And it's just one of those times where you have to just think, like, is this the time? And if this is the time, then you need to be ready. Like, dude, you need to, if you're not doing it, you need to start eating right, and you need to be exercising, and you need to be going to the range, and you need to, you know, be training, and you need to have food at your house, and you have to have, you know, water purifying tablets and such. You have to have first aid kits. You have to have, like, the ability to defend yourself and our way of life if necessary, because this is an egregious, like, disregard for the Constitution. Like, damn. Like, bro, it's really that bad. It's not a joke. Like, it's actually that bad. It's been this bad before, though. Like, so that doesn't mean that this is the end. Like, this has happened a lot of times. But at the same time, we should really be asking, like, why do we keep letting this happen? And maybe we should cut this off before it gets out of hand. Like, this wouldn't be the first time the government just started rounding people up. And if they started shooting at the protesters, it wouldn't be the first time they did that. Like, it wouldn't be the first time for anything. The government has literally dropped bombs on citizens and burned them alive and sent them away to foreign torture camps. This time, we really need to be careful. And we really need to be ready for things to go really bad, because they could, and whether or not they do or don't, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be ready for it, because, you know, if it doesn't happen and you're not ready, great, but if it does happen and you're not ready, you're really, really fucked. So we need to all look around and really look at what's going on and decide if this is really a threat we want to continually deal with, because it's pretty crazy that everything that happens is just some extreme, unprecedented act, and that there's no resistance to it. Like, do we want to just keep letting this happen? Do we want to have to keep having riots and shit? Like, I don't know. It's just something to think about. But anyway, go ahead and give me that like and that subscribe and comment down below about how you think I sound fucking crazy or whatever. But yeah, stay healthy, stay positive. Obviously, if the shit does go down, we're gonna win because the people always win.